Alright, sitting at work today. We're kind of slow, so I'm watching the street racing channel. And I got my injectors back. I got them back yesterday. But I didn't feel like messing with it yesterday. But I brought the fuel rails in from the garage, so I'm going to go ahead and put the injectors in the fuel rail. He said that he didn't find anything wrong with them, so I'm not so sure this is going to fix my issue. But on Christopher's fuel pump, Automotive came back and said they didn't find any issue with his fuel pump, and it works now. And it didn't work when I sent it to him, so we'll see. But I'm kind of pessimist on this. I don't know if this is going to fix it. I don't know why this started. It didn't start until I put that surge tank in there. And the 10 AN and 8 AN return. It's always had these fuel rails. But in the stock lines, everything worked. It just the in-tank pump, everything, it worked just fine with these injectors. But the duty cycle was way higher than it should have been, and now the duty cycle's correct, but now it's wanting to cut out under boost. And the funny thing is, it doesn't do it the first time you get on it, but the more you drive the car, the worse and worse it gets. So I don't know, we'll see. But this time around they sent me some pretty cool stickers. I only brake for wide loads. And it's kind of cool. Alright, got all the injectors in. I put the smallest flowing ones in the front and then the biggest flowing ones in the back. I don't know. But anyway, I lubed up the O-rings on the top, put them in the hole, and then lubed up the bottom O-rings. Lubed up the top O-rings, put them all in, then I went back through and lubed up the bottom O-ring. I just used some Vaseline. Lip therapy. Just because I had it sitting on my desk. Alright, it's lunchtime. Let's toss these in the car real quick. Just gotta pull our little things out here. Make sure not to drop anything down in the holes. Alright, we'll slid it in there and slid it down in the holes. Pushed it down. Now put the bolts in, 2 bolts, and then do the same to the other side, and then we'll hook the lines up, screw those in. Regulator will go up there, and each one will screw in on each side and be done. Oh yeah, have to clip these back on, and these are numbered 2468, 2468. 1357. Put your injector clips back on. Alright, kicking the pumps on, checking for leaks. It's set closer to 60. I'm gonna back that down. I'm gonna back it down to 43. Each one of them marks is 2. Focus, does it? That's about 43, we'll call it 43 there. Right, and after you tighten it up, take it again. About 42, oh well. Alright, battery's too dead to start it, so we'll get that charging, and next break we'll start it up. Then after work we'll drive it and see if there's any difference. We'll see. Alright, I lowered that fuel pressure, so I don't know if it'll start or not, but we'll give her a try. trying. That's alright. We'll load different to in a minute. Where we change that fuel injector, or change the fuel pressure from 50 to 43. I'm just out here on break, so we went from 50 fuel, which is like 50, 56, 58, I can't remember. But we dropped it to 43 based on, I had it at 50, maybe it's higher than that, I can't remember. But anyway, I lowered the fuel tables about 14%, because 50 to 43, that's 14%. So see what that does. All right, see what that does. There we go. Well, it's way too fat. But anyway, just fatted idle probably. Let's see what it does on the brake. Yeah, it's just too fatted idle. Everything else looks pretty good. So after work, I'm just on break. After work, I'll lean out those idle tables too. And after work, we'll take it for a ride and see what it does. Alright, it's after work. Got the idle AFR a lot better. I'm gonna check the voltage pumps real quick, and then we'll go for a ride and see what it does. Alright, so I got 13.8 there, I got 13.2 there, and I got 12.8 there. So I need to make them lines a little bit bigger for the pump. But 12.8 is fine. When we get on it, it'll go up to 13. 13 should be okay. Well, I didn't even get on the highway and it's already doing it, so. Well, as y'all saw, that didn't fix it. If anything, it seems like it got worse. I think what I'm going to do is get some fittings and bypass the surge tank and just use the 6AN from the tank, run it straight to the 10AN, the return line 8AN to the 6AN to back to the tank, and see if it goes away with just running the tank, the fuel pump in the tank as it was before when it was working. That way we can eliminate if it's the surge tank coming causing it. I wonder if those mesh filters, those pumps are really low in the tank. They're only about that far off the bottom. I wonder if the mesh filters, both of those being in there, you know, the ones that hook to the bottom of the pump, I wonder if there's just not enough room in there for gas. And then I don't know. Where I took the fuel pump socks off down inside that surge tank, there's not a lot of distance between the pump and the bottom. And when you put these in there, it almost takes up all that room. See if that's causing it. It's got to be something with that surge tank, because it didn't happen until after I put that on there. Then again, sometimes you do something to your car and mysteriously something else goes wrong, and it makes you think it's the thing that you put on there, especially if it's kind of related. Cars, I tell you what, man, pain in the butt sometimes. Alright, I quit messing with mine for a little bit and I brought this one in. The transmission tail housing bolts. I'll show you right here. So as you can see here, every one of these bolts is loose. The bottom right one, it's backed almost all the way out. And the one you can't see, the very top left one, it's gone. So I got all those tightened up, and hopefully it didn't ruin the seal that goes from the transmission to the tail housing. Hopefully it didn't crack anything, because that thing was vibrating around. Like I said, all 4 bolts were loose. One of them was way out, as you could see in those pictures, and one of them was completely gone. Luckily I had one in my box of bolts. It was about that much too short, but it was plenty enough to thread in there. So let's back this one out and top the fluid off and see if it leaks. He's getting some slicks for this one, so you guys are going to be able to see what this one's going to do at the track. It runs good. It just has a mail order tune, LT1 PCM tuning from online or whatever. It's kind of, which when you go with a bigger cam, it takes away the low end, but the fueling ain't right from idle to about 1500 RPM, but after about 1500, 2000 RPM, I mean, it takes off. It runs good. It runs really good. I think that car's, it's just a bolt-on car with a cam. I rebuilt the motor, if you guys seen that in some of the past videos. It's got a 3600 Vigilante stall. The transmission was rebuilt. I'm not sure who rebuilt it, but he had the tuner guy put the shifts on kill, and it shifts hard. And it's got a 373 gear on it, so I think it's going to run deep into the 12s. But yeah, let's fill up the fluid and see if it leaks. Hopefully it didn't ruin the seal or it didn't crack the tail housing, because it was vibrating. That torque arm, when you was driving it, you let off the gas, you could feel that torque arm bouncing that tail housing. That's why it's good to get those mounts that take the torque arm from rear end off of the tail housing. It jars it loose. It jars them bolts loose, and it could crack your tail housing. A lot of torque on that thing. There's how much fluid it was leaking. It was actually leaking worse than that. It's a lot of fluid don't go in the tail housing, but enough does to make a puddle. The puddle's all the way up in there too. But bolt on, LT1 stock bore, crank, heads, intake, throttle body with the stage 2 tick performance cam. It's too fat at idle. It needs lined out from, or it needs leaned out from 1000 to 2000 RPM. I mean, it's snapping. It runs good. It runs really good. A lot of people said that cam's too big. I said no, it's perfect. It's perfect. I like it. You know, see an LT1 that had brakes that work good, especially with the brake-in op-light, ABS and op-light on. But the brakes on this car, I sling you right through the window. They work just as good as a brand new car. Mine sure don't. And they work good. Must have that on the same fuse. Hit the brakes, it dims the radio. But anyway, we'll get her up to temp and check the transmission fluid, and add as needed. Oh yeah, it's something I wanted to touch on. I don't know if y'all can hear it or not. To hear that sewing machine sound, a lot of people will say your rockers are too loose. No, those are roller rockers, and that's the noise they make. They make that sewing machine sound. See, it sounds just like a sewing machine. That's just the way they sound. Well, it's at least a quart low, so we'll go get a couple of quarts. All right, looks full to me. Right on the hot. Now we'll drive it around. But it's parked right here. kind of spun the tires right there, so it would have been right in here somewhere. It don't look like it leaked any. I pulled it up on that board, but I'll look at the board when I back out. But let's go drive it around, then we'll pull it back up on the board. I know y'all can't see that board, but there's nothing on it. Let's ride. Runs and sound good. Strong little running car. Alright, parked it back over the board. Parked it farther back so we didn't get it confused with where it was leaking before. And we'll just let it sit there for a while. Make sure nothing comes out. Whoops. Nothing comes out. We're good to go. Hey, you can just swipe instead of hitting the button. Ooh, learned something new. Oh, so now back to my car. We're going to take these 3 fittings and we're going to eliminate the surge tank. Well, we're still going to use the return to go through the surge tank. That should be fine, but we're going to run the in-tank pump straight to the 10AN line and eliminate the surge tank and see if that makes a difference. All right. So, undid that from there. 10AN to 6AN. That's the feed line. And then capped it where the feed line went right there. That ought to do it. Alright, it started out. That's about where we should be with vacuum. Make sure we don't got no leaks. Oh, I think I gotta turn them pumps off. Whoops. I heard them screaming. They were deadheading. Oh well. There ain't no leaks though. I thought there was a leak there, but that was just left over from where we screwed it together. Okay, good to go. Now let's make sure what tune's in it, and then we'll go for a ride. I don't know if it's leaking or not. I'll check it more in a minute. Alright, it's not leaking now. And I loaded the last tune in it, last known good tune. So let's go for a ride and see if bypassing the surge tanks fixes it. Well, that didn't make a difference. I forgot to make a video, but same thing. So that didn't fix it, so it's not the surge tank. The only thing I did was the surge tank in those lines. I'm thinking maybe that LNC 2000's acting up. I'm going to disconnect that and see if that fixes it. And if that don't fix it, I'm going to throw my coils from the Sierra on here and see if that fixes it. See if it's a coil. I'm not getting any codes. I don't know. Huh. Alright. This one's not leaking. There's a little spot way up there. I'm going to assume that was residual, because the leak was farther back here. But we'll back it out and see what that is. I bet it's just residual transmission that was all over the bottom of the pan. Because by now there'd have been a big puddle there. There ain't one. But that's bigger than it looks on camera. It's really small. It's just long. Well, it did way better that time, but it was way too fat. We'll take some fuel out of it and see what that does. It might have been that LNC 2000. We'll see. Well, there you go, guys. It's fixed. It was the LNC 2000. See, what are the odds something like that happens? See, that just messes with you. You put something on your car and then something else breaks. So there you go, it's fixed. Now, is it the LNC 2000's fault? I don't know. It could be my fault, because I took that nitrous kit off of there and it was wired into that LNC 2000 to retard timing and for the two-step. I left the two-step wire on, but I took the retardant timing wire off. It could be, I don't know that. I don't know, I'm going to have to double check the wiring, but and it might just, I didn't notice that any of the connections had pulled loose, or one of the connections might have pulled loose. I don't know, but we'll look back over that. But I'm definitely going to put the surge tank back the way it's supposed to be. I only use that LNC 2000 for a two-step now. That's all it's used for, but I definitely need the two-step for the trans brake. But I'm just glad it's fixed. Boy, that had me pull my hair out. So I wasted 50 bucks on fittings, and I wasted 130 bucks getting my injectors clean. But sometimes I wanted to get those injectors cleaned anyway, because I accidentally run fuel through the lines when they had a bunch of crap in them. So I wanted to do that regardless, just because I accidentally run fluid through the lines. When you make them AN lines, it gets a bunch of crap in them. You run fluid through it, it usually falls down in the injectors. But Snake Eater said the injectors were clean, so it probably would have been fine. But and then the fittings to bypass the surge tank, you can't never have too many fittings, in my opinion, because there's a lot of times I'm like, dang, I wish I had this fitting or that. But anyway, it's fixed. We just need to figure out why the LNC 2000 is doing that, or replace it so I have a two-step. But yeah, that's it. Y'all like and subscribe. Have a great day. Probably the next thing for this one is put the surge tank back the way it's supposed to be, and take it to the dyno and get a dyno tune. Really just, I can tune it. I mean, it's just a pain in the butt driving around and tuning and pulling over and loading a tune, and it's so much easier just to put it on the dyno. And there's a guy around here, he's very reasonable with his prices, so I'm just going to take it up to him, let him do it. Plus, he's better at idle. These stock ECMs, they suck at idle and off port throttle and coming back down to idle. And I ain't really good at that part. I'm good at wide open throttle, which is usually easy. You just get the wide open throttle AFR right and the timing right, boom, done. But yeah. But y'all stay posted. Have a great day.